thought I'd take the lazy way out. Now, normally when I take the lazy way out, I would go to TikTok Live. That's really easy. You got a million people coming in, asking questions, and that keeps me pretty well focused on what's going on and talking about the things that people want to hear. Well, I gave nobody a heads up on TikTok, so I'm doing a live on YouTube. Now, YouTube's a entirely different animal. I've got far fewer followers on YouTube, and usually it's much slower pace. And we'll see what happens here. I'm currently live on YouTube, and we'll see if we get any activity. But it's very interesting to watch what's going on now. We've got a lot of things going on with Donald Trump. He hasn't even been inaugurated yet, and he's already causing people a lot of problems. The idea that Matt Gaetz would be Attorney General, some people will talk to you and act as though he's a sure thing to get in, and that's just not the case. We know that at least 30 Republican senators have said he's a no-go. So basically what that means is he'd never be approved by the U.S. Senate at this point. Now, the only other option is a recess appointment. That's where when Congress is on recess, then a president can jam some appointments through. Everybody's done it. Obama, George W. Bush, Biden to a certain extent. So it's been done. It's not something crazy. It's not something cheating. But we'll see if he can pull that off. The problem is the Senate and the House have to agree to go on recess, as far as I understand it. Now, the House might go along, being led by Mike Johnson, but the fact of the matter is that the Senate's a little different story. We've got John Thune, the leader of the Senate majority, and he's not a big Donald Trump fan. He's just not. He's not a big Donald Trump fan, and he's not going to bend for him, especially if it means the Republicans putting in somebody like Matt Gaetz as the Attorney General. This guy has no experience. Well, the only experience he has, of course, is that he was investigated by the DOJ. I don't believe that's going to happen. Now, if you're sitting out there and seeing that Donald Trump is having a little trouble picking people that might be approved, you have to understand what the qualifications are for, the qualifications. By the way, I see you on YouTube Live. I see a few folks out there right now. Thanks for joining us. We're happy to take your questions, comments, whatever. Mark Home Hobbies says, nice mic live. Well, yeah, I don't do a lot of lives on YouTube, and when I do them, they're kind of impromptu, and so it's people don't know it's coming, so you have to get take the risk here. And I'm going to try to do more on YouTube. Jazz Maniac, my first live, popping my cherry. Okay. I know what that means, but I don't know that it fits this particular circumstance. All right. What apparently is necessary to be appointed on Donald Trump's cabinet is you have to have some background in being a sexual predator. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Donald Trump is without question a sexual predator. He admitted to it. He was found liable of it. So it's not unfair to say Donald Trump is a sexual predator. He is absolutely. Jazz Maniac says, love your show, Mike. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then we've got Attorney General prospect Matt Gaetz. Now, we know Matt Gaetz has some problems of his own. There's a report that he's trying to keep hidden. Mike Johnson is trying to keep hidden. That talks very clearly about him having sex with an underage girl, illicit drugs, drug and sex trafficking. They're trying to keep it away from the people, but as much as the House may not release it, the Senate's going to want to see it before they agree to even voting on Attorney General for Matt Gaetz. But you know how Washington, D.C. works. You know how the Supreme Court works. It's likely to be leaked. And when it gets leaked, we'll all see what's going on. Let's see here. Mike, you think Biden got intel at the G20? I don't know. You know, a lot of people keep talking about, something's going to happen. We've got astrologers and we got psychics that something's going on and something's going to come out to flip it around. You have to understand it's starting to sound a lot like what the Trump-la-fucks were talking about back in 2020. I'm not saying there wasn't any cheating going on because you can almost guarantee that there was some cheating when Donald Trump is involved. But I need to see some evidence before I'm going to jump on board that little cavalcade. And then I'm going to have to determine whether or not the Democrats and the DOJ are in fact going to do anything about it. I mean, this is one of the problems we've had for the last 4 years. There's been plenty to get Donald Trump and all his little Trump-la-fuck buddies on, but nobody's done anything. Merrick Garland basically sat there with his thumb up his ass, and he is largely responsible for us being in this particular position. Chaz Maniac says, Mike, I heard today that recess can be called by the president should neither House or Senate agree to do so. Thoughts? I heard that too, and I have to verify whether that's true. And if it's true, well, then he will insist on a recess and he will appoint Matt Gaetz AG. Now, there's some different attitudes about this. Some people say, let him do what the fuck he's going to do, because these people are inexperienced, they're incompetent, they're inept, and the faster they get in there and fail, the better off we are in the end. You know, we know they're going to screw up. And when they screw up and it starts costing the Trump-la-fucks money, that's when there's going to be an uproar. There's going to be a backlash. So we'll see what happens. Maggie says, nice surprise, Mike live on Sunday night. Thanks, Mike. Danielle says, thank you for being here. No, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. I did this unannounced on a Sunday night, not knowing if anybody would show up, and damned if they didn't. Well, I thank you very much for that. The other sexual predator that is going to be on, or proposed to be on Donald Trump's cabinet is a guy by the name of Petey. You know, Petey, the guy for the Defense Department. Now, this is an interesting guy because Pete doesn't have any experience. He has some military experience, but mainly he's a part-time host on Fox News. That was enough to get people to say, this guy isn't qualified. And then it comes out that there was an accusation of sexual abuse. He assaulted a woman. And then he came out and said, oh yeah, that was nothing. That was exonerated, like Trump-la-fucks do. You know what strikes me funny is that so many Republicans get called out for pedophilia, for sexual assault, and they always say, well, nothing ever happened to me. Well, nothing ever happened to Pete because, well, he paid her off. Now, for my money, if you have to pay somebody off to keep their mouth shut, I don't think you were exonerated. I think you're covering your ass. I think you're obstructing justice. And so forgive me if I don't believe that you're innocent. Moving on, Jordan Thomas says, I'm Gen Z Republican fan of your channel, especially TikTok. Keep up the great work. Gen Z Republican? Really? You're a Gen Z Republican? I'd love to hear your reasoning behind that. Why would a Gen Z be Republican? Although, you know, that's kind of what we saw. We saw a lot of young people, a lot of far left-leaning people vote for Donald Trump. And I got to be honest, that was a surprise to me. A lot of people came to me after the election and said, you lied, you were wrong. Well, I'll tell you what, I admit when I'm wrong. I've been married 41 years. My wife and kids will point out that I'm wrong every fucking day, so I got a thick skin. But the fact of the matter is that election was pretty clear what was going to happen. If you looked at all the facts, all the data, it showed very clearly that Kamala was going to win. And I wasn't the only one saying it. A lot of people with more followers than I've got, more power and more experience than I have, all said the same thing. In fact, that lady pollster in Iowa that's been right all her life was wrong by a long shot. Now she's retired. I think her name is Seltzer. Anyway, what we all didn't figure into the equation was that Democrats would shit on themselves. Democrats would fail to vote for Kamala Harris. And Jazz Maniac says, I'm curious as to why people voted against their own interest. Well, there's a few reasons for that. Some of it might be racism or sexism. They just couldn't imagine a woman, dare I say, a black woman becoming president of the United States. Prior to the election, I never would have thought we would have seen that in this country, but we do, to the tune of 50%. Now, they always talk about the 15 million votes that are missing with the Democrats. Understand, they aren't missing. Well, they're missing from the last election, but it's not like they were there and now they're gone and something nefarious happened. There's no proof of that as yet. What happened is people just didn't come out and vote, or they didn't vote for the presidency. Part of it may have to do with the whole Israeli Hamas war in Gaza Strip. Well, they want what they want. The far left wants what they want right now. And if they don't get it, they're going to protest. They're going to pout. So they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Unfortunately, what happened by not voting for Kamala Harris gave Donald Trump the win. And if you were worried about those poor Palestinian people in Gaza, you should be terrified now. Joe was doing everything he could, even though it wasn't as much as you wanted. He did what he could. Now Donald Trump gets in. He's going to let his good buddy Bibi Netanyahu do whatever the fuck he wants. He's going to give him bombs, missiles. He's going to give him free rein to do whatever he wants. And we know what Bibi Netanyahu wants to do. He wants to bomb the piss out of Hamas, bomb them into the Stone Age, which is all well and good. Hamas is a terrorist organization. However, in the process, there'll be collateral damage, and that is the poor, innocent folks, Palestinians. So here's the deal. You were pouting because Joe Biden didn't do everything you wanted, and now you just made it much worse. I want those people who voted for Kamala because they didn't like what Joe Biden was doing, and understand now, when this all occurs, when this goes down and thousands of Palestinian people are killed unnecessarily, that blood is on your fucking hands. Just remember that. And I'm not going to feel a bit sorry for you. You knew better. You fucked around. You found out. And you cost a lot of people a lot of misery and death. Robert Delgado says, great channel. Keep up the good work. Have you read Alan Lichtman's new book, 13 Keys to Retirement? It's a great read, yeah. The thing is, this was a problem. This election was a problem for a lot of folks. Alan Lichtman had been predicting the elections based on his 13 keys for 25 years. And he's been right for the most part. I don't know if what he uses for criteria to decide who's going to win is valid or not, but you can't deny the success. However, like me, like a lot of folks, he was wrong. He was deadly wrong. And I know a lot of people are embarrassed by it. And the thing about it is am I embarrassed? No, I'm not embarrassed. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy sitting in my living room, or in this case, a pool house, clubhouse thing in Savannah. I'm not an expert. All I can do is look at the facts and look at how things are going, and then kind of determine or discern what's happening based on those facts. What happened with Kamala Harris, she should have won, and she should have won decisively. But again, we got a wild card. We got Democrats who said, fuck it, I'm not getting involved. I'm going to pout. I'm going to protest. And therein lies the problem. Now, if every Democrat who voted in 2020 voted in 2024, Kamala would have won. I can't for the life of me understand why there would be less voters in 2024 than there was in 2021 or 2020. People came out in 2020 not because Joe Biden was a great candidate at that point. We didn't know how well he'd do. They came out because they hated and they were terrified of Donald Trump. My contention was that in 2024, they hated him more and they were more terrified of him. And my contention was that the overturning of Roe v. Wade would be a huge issue for a lot of folks, more important than what's going on over in Gaza. Well, fuck me. I was wrong. I was wrong about that, and I'll own that. For For the life of me, I don't know how it's wrong, but in fact it is. The great Logano, I'm here, speech depending on where she is. She either says she'll help Gaza or Israel. You can't find both. Well, great Logano, I don't know what you're talking about. Here's the deal. The President of the United States, whether that be Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, has some things they have to deal with. First of all, we are an ally of Israel. Being an ally, there are certain things we have to do. We have to support the ally. But at the same time, we can put a little pressure on them to bring humanitarian help to the Palestinians, okay? And Joe did that. He worked hard and he put some pressure on. I'm not saying he couldn't have put more pressure on, but here we are. And so now that Donald Trump is going to be president, I'll guarantee you this. There will be no humanitarian help. Donald Trump doesn't give two fucks about the Palestinian folks, in spite of what Arab Americans or the radical left thought. He doesn't care anything about them. There will be no humanitarian help, and they're going to let Bibi Netanyahu do whatever the fuck he wants. So you decide for yourself which you prefer. Because it's funny, a lot of these people that didn't vote for Kamala Harris are now begging Joe Biden to do something. And of course, Joe will do whatever the fuck he possibly can do. But the fact of the matter is that he's limited. He's not the president of Israel. Bibi Netanyahu is basically a miniature Donald Trump. And because of that, this fucker's crazy. Bibi Netanyahu doesn't want the war to end. That's the only thing I can imagine would help massive bombing in this conflict, because if he bombs the piss out of him and the war ends because he's wiped everybody out, then he's in kind of a pickle. When the war ends, he's going to be up for scrutiny. He's probably going to get kicked out, and he's probably going to go to jail. That's why perpetuating this war is the most important motivation for Bibi Netanyahu. The great Logano says we need to worry about our country before stupid Israel and Gaza. I mean, seriously. Well, I wouldn't say stupid Israel or Gaza or Palestinians. I think part of what you're saying is true. I've always said that. I never talked much about that war because I don't have a dog in the fight. I have enough problems here. That doesn't mean that we as a country, America, don't have some right or some responsibility to help people in need. We're the biggest, most powerful country in the world, and that is kind of our responsibility. To say we don't need to worry about our country before stupid Israel and Gaza, like great Logano says, that sounds like a comment from Donald Trump or any other Trump-la-fuck. Now, great Logano, I don't know if you're a Trump-la-fuck, and as long as you behave, you can stick around. But the moment anybody starts acting like a fucking dumbass Trump-la-fuck, you're getting blocked. Stormy Rose Butterfly says, hello, Mike. Love you too. Cookie, hi, Boomer from Australia. Love listening to you. I love having people from Australia listen. I've never been to Australia. It sounds like a beautiful place, and I'm looking forward at some point to go there. Mark's Home Hobbies. I bet Biden heard some jokes about us at G20. Yeah. That's the one thing Donald Trump will bring us as president of the United States. Once again, he will make us the laughing stock. I know Republicans love to say everybody respects him around the world. Everybody's afraid of him. They may be fearful of what he might do, but they don't respect him. They know he's a joke. He says and does stupid stuff fucking constantly. So I don't think anybody's going to be impressed by Donald Trump. Charles Craw. Less people voted because it was easier in 2020 to vote due to the pandemic. Republicans spent the last 4 years purging voter rolls, closing polling places, and making it harder to vote, and it worked. Yeah, you're probably correct about a lot of that. We're dealing with different dynamics than in 2020. We did have COVID. We did have people fearful of Donald Trump. I think part of it was also that people were just getting out of dealing with Donald Trump. And 4 years have passed, and they maybe don't remember how bad it was. The way they talk and rant and scream and lie. Apparently people had forgotten what they'd gone through. Now keep in mind, The economy crashed at the end of Donald Trump's terms, and he'll try to blame it on COVID. And I say that, well, he's responsible for the economy because he mishandled horribly the COVID pandemic. He basically ignored it. He called it a hoax. He said it would end quickly when it warmed up, and he was absolutely wrong. Any other president would have gone to much further degrees to get this taken care of. They wouldn't have thrown out the pandemic committee or the pandemic plan. He threw those out, just suggesting this doesn't mean anything. This is what Donald Trump does. He destroys. Donald Trump builds nothing. He doesn't even build buildings anymore. Back when his name had some value, he would have somebody else build it, and then he charged them to put his name on it. Cookie says, I'm from Melbourne. Hey, Boomer, when will you have Will on again? Well, probably fairly soon. Will's always calling and saying, hey, can I come on? And it's hard to say no to Will. He's always fired up. He knows his stuff. He's always got trivia about movies and history, too. He's a smart guy. I have him on. I look much smarter. So the next time he wants to come on, he can come on. Seems like Thune is giving it to Trump. That's right. Senator Thune is the majority leader in the Senate. And I think Mitch McConnell suggested him and kind of supported him, mainly because he knew there was no love lost between Thune and Donald Trump. He knew Donald Trump would do some crazy shit, which would ultimately hurt the Republican Party come 2026. So he wanted to put up some guards, put a situation where he isn't going to be able to run roughshod through the Senate. And with Thune there, it's going to be much tougher for him. Katrina Jones says, I really enjoy your show, especially when you have Will on. Yeah, I like it when Will's on. We got a lot of great guests. Eric, Jace, Will, Old Soul, Ed. We haven't had Ed on for a while. I'm looking forward to getting him back. Robert Delgado says, what's your thoughts on Biden finally giving Ukraine permission to use U.S. long-range missiles on Russia? Yeah, he gave that permission, and that's a pretty big deal. And that's got to make Russia kind of nervous. I think that Biden is looking ahead to Donald Trump taking over. And once again, like Israel, just let Russia do whatever the fuck they want, provide no money, provide no help, and let them roll over the top of Ukraine. So I'm thinking Biden has decided that he needs to give them a leg up before he can't anymore after January 20th. Rita Ray says, did they quit teaching history in school, or apparently history teachers can't keep students awake? Or we just have 50% of this country that's absolutely fucking ignorant and ignores history. They don't talk about history. They don't talk about science. It's all cultish behavior. It's all ideology. I'm afraid the problem is we've got people that are either stupid or evil, and I like to take the high road. I would prefer to think them stupid. But even beyond that, it's not even about stupidity, because I know that even when they know for a fact what's going on, they will still stick with the lie. People hear what they want to hear, they like what they want to hear, and then they want to rationalize it out to make sure that that their point gets across, whether it's true or not. We've got a problem in this country with the people in it, and I'm concerned about that. Zounds Treetop, they stopped teaching, period. The average is 8th grade reading comprehension. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Do you think Trump will last 4 years? Absolutely not. He's not healthy enough mentally or physically. He's kind of a liability to the Republicans now. He had some value when he could get them the presidency and get Republicans elected. But now that he's in there, he won't be able to run again in 4 years, so he doesn't have much value anymore. And if he does crazy shit, the Republicans are going to take the heat for it. So I suspect the Republican Party, the relatively normal ones, will kind of try to shut him down when they can. They aren't going to be afraid of him anymore because there's little he can do at this point. For all intents and purposes, he's a lame duck. And as a lame duck, you have some limited power. And the Senate will probably use it against them. Mad Spark says, yeah, it's team politics sometimes, even on my side. And I presume you're talking about the Democrats. Let's just say this up front. There are big problems with the Republicans. There is no question of that. I fought alongside the Democrats because we needed to put out that fucking dumpster fire. But that's not to say that there aren't problems with the Democratic Party. This entire election, Kamala Harris did everything she could in a short period of time, but the Democrats misplayed it. They're as responsible as Donald Trump winning as the Republicans are. Mardau Brennan, do you think Biden should have welcomed Trump to the White House as though he was a normal president? Yeah, I felt kind of off about that. I don't know. That's standard procedure. Joe's old school, and that's what he's going to do. Now, Joe spent some time laughing. Well, in that meeting, don't know what he was laughing about. But Joe's from a different era. Now, keep in mind, Joe's a great president. There's no question about that. He's a wonderful president. He's maybe one of the most productive president in the history of this country, including Donald Trump. But he is old school. He wants to be bipartisan. He wants to play fair. Unfortunately, we're in a different world right now. Nobody's playing fair. And if you're going to fight against a bully that's not fighting fair, you almost have to get down in the mud with them and behave the same way. That's the only thing they understand. And we need a president, a Democratic president, when and if that ever happens again, that's going to be strong. The Democratic Party has never really been assertive or strong or aggressive. That needs to change. Seeing Biden and Trump playing nicey nice was strange. It was very strange. It was kind of disconcerting. It made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm going, Jesus Christ. You know who this fucker is. You know what he's going to do. How can you play like this is just another day in the White House talking to the next president of the United States? The whole idea that I have to sit here and suggest that he's going to be the next president of the United States is unsettling, as Zounds Treetop said. Cookie says, will Biden do anything to help? I think the only thing that Biden is doing at this point is trying to appoint judges. Will he do anything beyond that? I don't know. People talk about the immunity thing and how he could do this or how he could do that. It goes back to what I said before. He's from the old school. He's not going to do anything that might be considered unnormal. I keep hearing from people saying, oh, Biden's going to do this, or the investigation of this, or that's happening. That's well and good, but I want to see the fucking facts before I jump on board that fucking train. Russ DeMio says it was great to see Biden hand the torch back to the true president with a smile. Now, Rush, here's the deal. I don't like Trump-la-fucks. I try to get rid of them. They're more of a pest than anything. Rita Ray says, I met a man in his late 50s from New Jersey, and he honestly believed Annie Oakley was a cartoon character. He did not know she was a real person. Apropos of nothing. I don't know where you're coming from with that. But, well, maybe you're trying to point out how stupid people are. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Eagle Fly 18, so our military will just let Putin take the whole package. I don't know. Here's the thing with the military. People think that Donald Trump can walk in and do anything he wants with the military. And he will certainly try. He will try to do a lot of things. But while he's the commander-in-chief, there's also an issue that the military isn't able to accept illegal orders, and I trust that there are going to be some illegal orders. Cookie says, I wish the best for your country. Well, I will tell you this, Cookie. People have thought us down before. We've gone through some trying, turbulent times, even times that might be more rough than we are today. The 60s, I grew up in the 60s. I was very young. I had no idea really what was going on. But when you look back at all the things that happened in the 60s, that was a pretty turbulent time. And we had four major assassinations, a war, civil rights protest, women's rights protest, LGBTQ rights protest. We had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of dissension in this country. But somehow we got through it. And I grew into my own in the 70s. And I got to tell you, the 70s were a large part weren't too bad. So we will make it through one way or another, in spite of the fact that Donald Trump will be the president of the United States. I honestly don't believe that he's going to make it 4 years. I don't know that the Republicans will tolerate him for 2 years, because they got to be looking at the midterms, and they're going to come in and expect prices to drop and everything to get better. And it's just not going to happen, because the things they say they're going to do will do the opposite. But we also know the Trump-a-fucks are known for doing nothing, much like they did for the last 2 years in the House of Representatives. So when nothing happens or bad shit happens, they're going to have a hard time getting reelected. So you might see the Republicans trying to step away from Donald Trump sometime between now and 2026, depending on what he does. Cassandra Johnson says the whole thing was my mental health screwed up, or has my whole mental health screwed up. Unsettling is an understatement. I will agree with you there. Mark's Home Hobby says the Trump-a-fucks are bored insulting each other. Lane says, love your videos, Mike. Thank you, Lane. Yeah, it's funny. The Trump-a-fucks are having trouble understanding what's going on. They won this election. Whether it was fair and square, we remain to see. But you see them now saying, we got to reach out to our Democratic brothers and sisters and unite. Well, that's not going to happen. And they don't get it. They don't understand it. Family members don't want to see other family members. People that work together don't want to interact with each other. People don't want to patronize Republican merchants. And this is something that's going to continue. And people will say, well, you can't argue about politics. And what they need to understand is this isn't just about politics. This is about morality. This is about the future of this country. This is about the future of our kids and grandkids. They put those kids in jeopardy, and they're going to continue to put them in jeopardy. And as much as politics isn't worth losing family members for, you fuck with my kids and you fuck with my grandkids, at best you're dead to me. But if you approach me, you're going to be in for a fucking battle, and I'm not holding back. It's kind of my nature anyway. But since this election, I haven't been sad. I haven't been scared. I've been pissed off. I've watched how the Republicans behave, how they're in your face, how they're loud, how they're aggressive. And I know most Democrats don't fall in line with that style, that ability. But I tell you what I do. And if I have occasion to run into a Trump-a-fuck, I'm going to tell them exactly what I think. And I can talk as long and loud as they can. I just feel very annoyed, very upset, angry about it. I'm not going to cry about it because it is what it is. I mean, a lot of people have said that once the election was over, they felt kind of a relief. And I understand what they mean. They weren't relieved that Donald Trump will win. But here's the thing. The thing that people, all right, we disconnected a little bit on the live, but we're still in the middle of the Rational Boomer podcast. I'm doing both simultaneously. But what I was getting to is some people felt a certain amount of relief even after Donald Trump was elected. And it's because the unknown has finally been discovered. People are terrified about the unknown. You always imagine in your minds it's going to be much worse than it is. And people at this point are saying, well, fuck it, here we are. They got the House, they got the Senate, they got the presidency. We don't have to worry about it anymore, whether or it's going to happen because it's fucking happened. And I think that's the right attitude to take. I mean, at this point, we can't worry about what's already passed. We just can't. We've got to focus on what's going on now and what we're going to do next. And it's not like there aren't things we can do. We can talk loud, we can keep controlling the narrative, we can use public opinion in our behavior. Will we save everybody? No, that's the problem. There are going to be innocent people affected by this situation, and that's unfortunate. But in spite of that, we almost have to stand back and let these dumb motherfuckers burn themselves down. A lot of people don't like that when I say that. I'm just trying to be pragmatic here. They'll say, what about the poor innocent people? Trust me, I'm thinking about them. And if there was something we could do to fix them, obviously we would. But 50% of this country decided to vote against the people of this country, against democracy. They voted for racism, misogyny, and anti-Semitism. They voted for an entirely different country than we know it to be. So what do? You know it's going to fail. These aren't bright folks. You know there are people in red states who get the most help from the federal government. They're going to burn down. And when they do, I can assure you that I'm not going to be very sympathetic. I'm going to laugh as they burn themselves down. And we're finding out that a lot of people on the Republican side of things are now just starting to realize that, even before he's been inaugurated, by some of the people he's decided to propose for appointments, like Marco Rubio. Most Trump fucks don't like Marco Rubio at all. They consider him establishment. They consider him contrary to Donald Trump. But Donald Trump's got a problem too. We see all these crazy appointments that he has. And people are wondering, why would he do that? Well, Donald Trump's stupid and crazy himself. But more importantly than that, try to imagine after going 4 years with Donald Trump, maybe being in the cabinet. You want to jump on that shit show again? I mean, most people that were appointed by Donald Trump were either embarrassed, fired, or indicted. Virtually all his cabinet from 2020 doesn't want anything to do with him. So, here's the thing. We're going to see a lot of crazy fucks with Donald Trump trying to appoint them, mainly because he doesn't have a choice. He's not getting good people applying for the job. I mean, you think of some of the people that he wanted in 2016, he got them, but they didn't last very long. And now all of them are speaking out against him. So there's a lot of relatively decent people that just want no part of Donald Trump. They know this is going to be a crash and burn scenario, and they don't want to be on board when it happens. You can't blame them for that. You can't blame them for the idea that they know what's going to happen. This is the thing that bothers me about Republicans. They know Donald Trump is nuts. They know that he is diminishing cognitive skills. They know he's a narcissistic, malignant narcissist in the first place. But yet they still vote for him. And they vote for him because they felt like he had the strength to get them the presidency and control the House and the Senate. And let's be honest, that's exactly what he fucking did. So they got him there. Now they have to deal with the shithouse rat going around doing crazy shit. Now, Donald Trump doesn't have to worry about it because he's not running for re-election in 2024. And don't kid yourself, he's not going to change the rules and run again. It's not possible for him to do that. But all of these people that are around Donald Trump, whether they be in Congress and they're Republicans or people that are in the cabinet, they've got one thing to worry about that Donald Trump doesn't have. They have futures, they have careers, they have to get reelected. And go along with Donald Trump and watching this country fail is just not conducive to that sort of thing. I think that people believe anything Donald Trump says is automatically going to happen. And the fact of the matter is it's not. It's definitely not going to happen. If you look back to the 4 years he was in office as president, he failed mostly. A lot of things he wanted to get done, he didn't get done. Say, for example, um, the wall at the border and having Mexico pay for it. He didn't do that. One other thing he promised was that within 24 hours after getting elected, not taking office, after he was elected, he would end the Ukraine-Russia war. Well, we're going on 2 weeks now, and still no end to the war. I will say that Donald Trump tried, but he was made to look like a bitch by Vladimir Putin. Shortly after he got elected, he called Vladimir Putin and said, "Listen, man, I don't want you to escalate everything." And Vladimir Putin basically suggested, "I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. Fuck yourself, Donnie." And then Donnie, being a fucking child, said, "Hey, I'll remind you we have a lot of weapons in Europe pointed right at you. You better not fuck with us." That's what he said. How do you think Vladimir Putin takes to a threat by a dipshit like Donald Trump? Well, he doesn't take too well to it. And so, Vladimir Putin proceeded to make Donald Trump his bitch. He posted nude photos of his wife. He posted memes that were demeaning of Donald Trump. His second in charge said, "Hey, we did you a solid in the election. Now you owe us." Everything that Vladimir Putin basically was a slap in the face to Donald Trump, and basically said, "Keep it up, motherfucker. You're next." And what did Donald Trump say in that whole situation? Well, he said nothing. He said absolutely nothing. Because he's a pussy ass bitch. That's who he is. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I think a lot of people believe that Donald Trump's going to do everything he said, and the world's going to come to an end. The sky is going to fall, and I just don't think that's what's going to happen. Now, I've been wrong before, so, I'll acknowledge when I'm wrong. But the Republicans, while they might be happy that Donald Trump was elected, they do have to worry about getting reelected. And when Donald Trump fails, and he will most certainly fail, I mean, he's done nothing but fail since we've known him. Dad handed him $400 million, and somehow he ended up bankrupt. He bankrupted a casino. His 2020 campaign was a disaster. His whole term in office, he didn't get much accomplished other than a tax break for the wealthy. So Donald Trump has a track record, a history of being a dumb fuck and being a failure, quite frankly. And so I suspect much of that will be the same this time around. See, the thing is, Donald Trump may have some advisors, but he doesn't listen to advisors. If he doesn't like what he hears, he'll just do what the fuck he wants to do. Case in point, in his trials. He hires lawyers to advise him and handle the case, but Donald Trump said, "No, not like this, we'll do it like this." And every time he gets burned. He gets absolutely fucking burned. So I suspect a lot of failures, a lot of embarrassment, and it's not going to go well for Donald Trump. It's not going to go well for us either. But it is what it is, and we got to deal with it. It's not like we can cry about it and make it go away. That's just not going to happen. It's interesting. There was a promo picture shown on, I can't remember where it was published, but it looked like they were on Trump's train. Elon Musk was there. RFK Jr. was there, Donald Trump was there, some others, and they were all eating McDonald's. Oh, how classy. The ironic thing here, though, is RFK Jr. had a Big Mac in his fucking weird-ass mouth. And as far as he's told us, McDonald's is poison, that he's going to change everything. Apparently not. Donald Trump likes McDonald's, so now RFK Jr. likes McDonald's. He's an anti-vaxxer. He's a conspiracy theory nut. And it's going to be a problem if he becomes the head of whatever the fuck the Health and Human Services. We can only hope that doesn't occur. But, we live in a fucking bizarro world where a lot of shit goes on that you would never think happened. I mean, we spent 4 years while Donald Trump was in office, and we had so many things that happened that we never expected could happen, but they did. I'm wondering how much pushback there's going to be from the Republicans. I have to believe there's going to be some, and how much they can obstruct him. Now, the important thing is, as much as the Republicans obstructed us for the 4 years Joe Biden was in office, we can do the same thing. They don't have a huge majority in the House, and it's getting thinner every day as Matt Gaetz resigns and some other people step back. So it's going to be impossible for them to pass anything without the help of the Democrats, much like it's been for the last 2 years. And the same goes for the Senate. Remember how many times we talked badly about the filibuster? The minority was going to lose by 2 or 3 points. And they saved the day by using the filibuster, which means it had to pass with a 60-seat election. Well, that's not going to happen when the split between Republicans and the Democrats is 50-50 or thereabouts. So nothing's ever going to get passed. And I think I can guarantee you that the Democrats will be pushing back and obstructing this motherfucker. I mean, if that's the way the game is played, that's what they're going to have to do, especially if Donald Trump wants to do some crazy motherfucking shit. But here's the problem. As much as we probably have to do that because of the crazy shit they want to do, that means nothing will get done for this from this country. Nothing. We saw it for 2 years in the House. Not much got completed because the Republicans have no interest in getting anything done. They just want to own the libtards and try to block as much as they can fucking block. And that's exactly what they did. So I don't have a lot of high hopes. That's one of the things about Kamala coming in. I thought, okay, finally we'll make a progression with student loans, with health care, with money for kids and all those sorts of things. I was looking forward very much to having Kamala Harris in office because I thought we could finally make some steps forward, make some progress, and actually help some people. Even more so than Joe Biden, because again, Joe Biden's old school. But then Kamala loses, Donald Trump wins, and all of that shit is out the window. That's not going to happen. Donald Trump is not going to do anything for those of us that are in the middle class. There's no money on the table for him. Everything is transactional with Donald Trump, and unless he can gain from it, he ain't going to do it. So it's going to be interesting to see how he explains away the disasters that he's going to incur in this country. We know that's what Donald Trump does. He'll say, oh, it's the Democrats' fault. Well, the Democrats don't control the House, the Senate, or the Oval Office. So there's really only you dumb fucks to blame. They'll never own up to it. They'll never step back and say, oh, geez, I'm sorry, I was wrong. They will never admit that. So that's why it's going to be important for people like me and you out here talking about the stupid and ridiculous shit they've done. Because there's been plenty of it so far, and there will be a lot more over the term that Donald Trump occupies the Oval Office. As I've said, I don't think he's going to make it 4 years. He's just too old. He's too feeble. And how many times can you shit your pants in front of a crowd, for fuck's sake? So I don't think he'll make it past 2 years probably. And I think if he survives and he's still healthy enough to hold the position, I think the Republicans will be looking for a way to run his ass out. Either by giving him some kind of pardon for something. Here's something interesting I don't know that you knew. When Donald Trump won the election, we heard that Jack Smith, the special counsel in the federal trials for Donald Trump, was winding things down. And I'm sure a lot of you folks thought, well, Okay, he's just given up. Nothing's going to happen to Donald Trump. Once again, he slips out from underneath it. And that's not altogether true. That's just not totally true. You see, what Jack Smith is doing now, why he's winding it down now, is he's preparing a report for the trial in Washington, D.C., the insurrection case, and the classified documents case in Florida. He spent many years investigating this, and there's a lot of evidence and facts that need to come out. Would have come out during the trial, but if the trial doesn't happen, the information should still come out. We should still know what our President of the United States actually did. Now, um, you remember the Mueller report. Donald Trump said he was exonerated there, which he was not. There was at least 10 occasions of obstruction of justice by Donald Trump in that Mueller report. Mueller said he can't be indicted because he's a sitting president, but afterwards he certainly could. So we'll see. I don't know that he survives long enough to no longer be president or just be a civilian. I just don't. It's just a sense I get. But there's something else to this too. Say, for example, somehow Donald Trump survives 4 years and all of a sudden he's not president without any prospects of becoming president again. Well, then, if it's handled properly, and you can be assured Jack Smith will handle it properly the way it's set up, in spite of the fact that there will be some statute of limitations and these might extend beyond it, by doing whatever he's doing now is extending that so that 2 years from now, 4 years from now, he can still be charged with the crimes that he was charged with. So Donald Trump doesn't get away from this free and clear no matter what happens at this point. Some people say, well, he'll take over, he'll be a dictator, and he'll do everything he wants to do. Well, frankly, that's easier said than done. It really is. There is a lot of guardrails out there. There's the U.S. military, there's Congress, there's public opinion. And we go back to the public opinion thing. Everybody says, what can I do? I'm lost. The sky is falling. Well, what you can do is keep talking. Keep exposing the lies, perpetuate the truth, make fun of Donald Trump when he does something stupid, but get ready. That'll be about fucking every day. We got to keep the noise level up. We've got to stay aware and awake on top of it and keep pushing as hard as we possibly can. That's what we can do. That's all we can do at this point. So it's imperative that in fact we do that. The Republicans have been very good of carrying the narrative and getting people to believe absolute lies. If you don't believe me, just look at the election where 50% of this country voted for Donald Trump in spite of the racism, in spite of the misogyny, in spite of the anti-Semitism, in spite of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Any one of those things I would think would turn the tide to Kamala, but not in this case. And I can only suggest that means that we have 50% of this country which are racist, misogynist, anti-Semitic, and dumb motherfuckers. That's the only conclusion I can come to with what we know. And how this will continue on, nobody knows. I know that I come here a lot and I give hope, and I will say this, there's always hope. We will always have hope. If there is no hope, what's the point of fucking giving up or getting up in the morning? There is hope. Donald Trump is a failure at heart, and when he gets into the presidency, there's a lot of things that are going to go wrong. And there will be a backlash from his own followers when eggs and milk don't go down in prices. They aren't going down, they're going to go higher. But they're going to take a side-eye look at Donald Trump and say, what the fuck, you promised this, you promised that, and none of it is coming true. So it remains to be seen as to how they will react to that. I got to be honest, up to this point, we've been very disappointed, no matter how obvious, no matter how evident, no matter how egregious the crimes and corruption that Donald Trump has pulled. His Trump-la-fucks continue to stand by him, saying it didn't happen, it's not true, or it wasn't that big a deal, or the Democrats did it worse. That's how they behave. That's how they handle these circumstances. But over time, and people are struggling, it's going to be a big, big problem for people who aren't expecting it. They're expecting Donald Trump is going to send checks to all the Republicans and ignore. That's pretty ridiculous. I think about all the people that voted for Donald Trump, and one of the groups that I'm most confused by are farmers. See, the farmers have had an experience with Donald Trump and tariffs. You might remember back in his first term, Donald Trump applied tariffs to the Chinese, and they bought a lot of soybeans from us. Well, with the tariffs, the Chinese said, fuck it, we're not buying from you anymore, and bought it elsewhere. And so in this country, we had farm fields full of soybeans, and they were rotting in the field because there was no place to send them. There was nothing anybody could really do about it at that point. So the farmers started going broke, started to fail. And then what does Donald Trump do? Well, Donald Trump bails them out to the tune of $58 billion. And when these farmers look back, they say, yeah, it was a problem, but Donald Trump bailed us out. Well, Donald Trump wouldn't have had to bail you out if he just let you do the job at hand, but he refused. He had to stick his nose in and make a mess of it. And that's exactly what he did. He made a fucking mess of it. So these farmers then vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump suggests that he's definitely putting tariffs on. Somebody even asked, are you going to put tariffs on food too? One of his associates, one of his advisors said, of course we are. Well, this is going to be a problem. If you think eggs were high at one point, they're going to be higher. If you thought bread was too high, that's going to be higher. And then you're going to have to answer the question, what the fuck were you talking about? Donald Trump's better for the economy. Clearly, it's worse for the economy. I do have to say something about the economy. I said this in a previous podcast too. The question has always been, how is it the Republicans can say that the economy's bad when the stock market is breaking records? We've got unemployment down to a 50-year low. GDP is dropping, inflation is dropping, gas prices are dropping. How can we believe that that's actually happening? Well, it's largely due to the fact that Donald Trump is saying it. And for whatever reason, people choose to believe a pathological liar. That's all he does is lie all day long. And he gets caught frequently. So, it's hard to say what's in his head. So the farmers are going to put themselves on the line again. They're going to allow Donald Trump to do what he's going to do, but he get burned again. Now, they may be waiting for the bailout. But you have to understand something about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is very transactional, as I've said. So that means if he's going to do something, he has to get something in return. And what can the farmers give him in return? Votes? No, he's not running again. Money? He's already grifting the country for as much money as he could possibly imagine. So why would he give them the bailout? And there's no real good reason. Some people might say compassion and concern for the farmers. In most situations, that would be true. Not in this situation. Donald Trump truly does not give a shit about anybody else and only cares about himself. And in doing that, he puts the rest of this country in jeopardy. He puts us in a situation where we've come a long way and done pretty well, and now we're going to take 10 steps backwards. It amazes me that 50% of this country don't realize that, but apparently they're going to have to fuck around and find out. That's what they're going to have to do. It's unfortunate. All right, I want to thank you all for joining me on this YouTube Live. I appreciate it very much. I'll try to do some more so we can talk and interact again soon. I want to remind folks to make sure you check out the Rational Boomer podcast. You can get the audio version on Spotify. Just go over there and look for Rational Boomer. Or you can get it on YouTube in the video version. Just go over there, search Rational Boomer, and you'll find it. On YouTube, you'll also find the TikToks I do on TikTok. I put them together and run them for a short bit on on the podcast. It's called Not a Podcast, but it is a podcast where we take all the TikToks of the day and put them back to back and put them up in audio form. The regular video TikToks, they are on YouTube, so you can get those there too. If you're one of those folks that's on TikTok and not being able to see me, that's that fucking algorithm. I appreciate it when you watch on TikTok, but I'm just as happy if you go to YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. We're in all those spots, and you can get all the same information there. So check Spotify, check YouTube, check out the Rational Boomer podcast. All right. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join me on this live. As I say, we'll do some more. I hope you have a great night, great day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.